Welcome, everybody, to Flat Earth Nation. Mudflood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. And I'm going to welcome Randy and just have him confirm. Randy, we don't suggest that when you debate somebody, you use those right hooks and stuff like that. Just
Well,
debate them without fisticuffs. How are you, brother?
yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get that uh, persuasive
No,
to put the gloves on, but
no. When we read in that turn the other cheek thing, there's an implication in Paul where it says that there were certain things he would turn the cheek on and other things that he wouldn't, because he said, do you remember when was it? He said that, they wanted us to turn the cheek on this one, but I'm afraid we could not comply. But I don't think it was talking about fisticuffs. It was just like, going like, okay, that didn't bother me. Anyway, Rosie left us a message. You saw that. Luther's here, and I want to say
welcome,
hi
welcome.
to him. Rosie, we looked at your suggestion here. We got it pulled up here. I mean, you want to know what it is? It's just
Cascading water, eh?
yeah, you got a waterfall thing coming up here from the mountain. This looks like a tree. Randy, we're just stalling because we don't know what this is, but everything goes back to that Kaiser Wilhelm. Here's the Lion's Castle.
No
You know
kidding.
that Lowenberg. The only thing I know about Lowenberg is they make some pretty good beer there in Wisconsin. Or maybe that's Lowenbrow. I'm sorry. But that's a nice picture. So, anyways, look at that.
I like it.
They made their own artificial waterfall at the Bergs Park Wilhelm Schulk Rules Castle.
Nice bridge.
Yeah, I built that in the afternoon with Tommy one day because we were bored. There you
Who's
go.
that?
That's
A
a
relative?
bronze statue. It looks like the 3D injector mold printings are still there. Not a
Turned out
Jew.
pretty good.
I'm just going to go on a limb and say not a Jew. So anyway, there is Hercules. We just saw Hercules there.
All right.
So they're doing a little work on it in this picture.
Yeah, scaffolding that's been wrapped with visqueen or something, maybe.
Yeah, they got these zigzags because it helps reinforce it. It really does.
Yeah, right. The crooked stuff is what keeps it stout.
That's a good picture. This is their art time. Rosie liked this picture going, so what this maybe what people could say is that maybe that's a loudspeaker. I know that they're really, people that watch this show are really into frequency, harmonic resonance, and that, it's like whether you can hear it or not, it's probably producing some sort of a vibe.
So their street lighting is suspended on cables, out in the middle of the street.
That's the way you get your best, most efficient use of these street lights.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this probably is a model of the spine somehow. With our Capitol, what is this? The Lincoln Memorial, the Capitol building, whatever you want to slap on the front of it. That's what they built it for. That's what they'll say, taking credit for living in cities they didn't build.
Yeah, I like the streets, kind of a roller coaster ride. It's not San Francisco, is it?
No, this is in Germany.
Yeah, I know.
Schloss Park. We're not done looking at these pictures here. This is the orangery. What in the world is an orangery?
So it's not a greenhouse. It's orange. Well, that'd give you your 33. It's orange.
It's not going to be that easy. An orangery, because oranges are one of these newly concocted Jesuit foods like peanuts and the other, the staples of our diet,
Yeah.
An orangery is a dedicated building on the grounds of fashionable residence like that Bergs Park, Wilhelmshire, Harkins Castle. So if you're stylish and fashionable, like I know you would want to be, from the 1600s to the 1800s, that's where you'd grow your oranges or maybe another fruit tree, protect them during the winter. That, when people today struggle to get, like, I can get me some PVC and some plastic for a couple $100 and make a greenhouse. Back then, they had orangeries. Hey.
And they built it to last the way it appeared.
And it seems like this Frederick had more than one house with more than one orangery. Wherever he was going to, he even had an orangery palace.
Yeah, but he probably didn't have the average budget either.
No, because after the reset, he came out with a deed in his hand and said, I own this now. I've always owned this. You came out of a eugenics test tube and you get no vote. Well, there it is. There it is again. What are we looking at? Orange growing things, because we were looking at this thing, answering questions. This is the back of the Capitol. Remember looking up the hill the other way, it's got another entrance as it.
Yep.
This is Saskia. Rembrandt drew a picture of her. She might have lived there. These people that took over the world, they built it and they lived there. What's with these guys? I wonder who number 23 is. Is that Hitler? Hitler was he's like a common memory bad guy.
Yeah, he is now.
There's Emperor Wilhelm II in Bergs Park, 1906. See what they're doing here? See what this girl's got going here? There's nothing on this side of the horse. You know why? She's riding a side saddle.
Yep. An extra firm saddle horn. Maybe.
So there's another one. Time they could shoot that geyser out, but they can't build a bathroom in the place probably. So I'm saying that maybe it's chakra related. Somehow it's got the chakras in it. But this definitely was one of the things that, they tore down and burned. Probably King Josiah took care of this part. And then later on, some of these other people, they say, like, no, let's go rebuild the high places. Right? It's always the same old story, Brother Randy. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, you have limited options.
Yeah. JP for JC.
Yeah.
He's driving.
Start over or salvage what you can salvage. Yeah.
He's driving, listening, and texting and growing in grace as we speak. Nobody in our circle is multitasking right now more than JP for JC. Do it safe, brother.
Fairly impressive.
So yesterday I was writing this crazy stuff after listening to Tommy, because during Tommy's show, I was cracking up with him and Ashley, and they were trying to come up with an idea of what the world has done to us. And I said, and my idea is that they've got us so stupid that every time it says pull, the world says pull our finger, we do it, and then get embarrassed and go like, oh, you got me again, because the world fake farts.
Yeah, chuckle.
Before we show your stones, I know that we have people hanging on and they will check in later. we're a massive strength. You know, we don't have those thousands and thousands of subscribers since we had to restart, but man, we're going to get 100 views by the end of this week, Randy. So you know we still got it going on, brother. The Lord is still using us, despite the fact that since I talked to you last night and this morning and knew we were going to do this show the stones thing, you got out your 14-inch saw, which allows 5-inch cuts on stones. I decided to go with this instead. I wrote down here to prove I did write this down. Redshift doppelgangers? Where does this even come from? Redshift doppelgangers, pre-repentant game changers in this present matrix. Albert Einstein was the beast. Aleister Crowley was the false prophet. I'm mixing it up there because, you know, Aleister Crowley called himself the beast, but I think he was even lying about that. He was selling that sex magic stuff, you know, like when Elvis Presley died reading on the that's how I don't want to die. I think I get to that. I don't want to die like Elvis Presley. Found reading a book called Sex Magic, and then they break it to the news. He had 40 pounds of compacted waste in his colon. And as you got your rock, I got my colon to show that it was a rock. So let me continue. Refreshing your memory. Albert Einstein, beast. Aleister Crowley, false prophet. So it could be a common memory for us living that 100 years later, right now. Galileo was the Einstein of present history repeating. Holy Scripture teaches judgment comes in a cloud. Einstein's theory teaches death through radiation comes from a mushroom cloud. There's something there. There's something there. At this point, I realized this, okay, I should pay attention. Dark energy mindset faith compromises everything it touches. Only complete rejection will bring blessings of salvation. Once you get past any Albert Einstein connection with this is not Armageddon coming, but this is a replay of our whole world's history. And in the world's history, Einstein played the beast, not Crowley. He was lying about that. He was the false prophet, talking about his theolema, vril societies, theophistic, Helena Blavatsky type free love reigns. Say anything, so maybe one of those pre-liberated liberation women would stop being a lesbian long enough to say, if you don't care about sex, what about me? Because that's the only thing that would drive those punks to kowtow to those. It's a dude, man, women. The only complete rejection of Albert Einsteinism. The way, the truth, and life is the Lord Jesus Christ. Jesus taught the good news to the apostles and Paul, formerly Saul. Saul must be included as the apostles to the Gentiles. When Paul says, in quotes, my gospel, Paul means the only true gospel. When Paul says my gospel, that is the only true gospel related by the Lord Jesus Christ, the same Jesus Christ who related the book of Revelation to the beloved John, the apostle, and his epistles. That's how it works. Flat earth nation of tribes, no central government. Shiloh's bride will be waiting, not with a Bible in one hand and a hidden book of sex magic in the bathroom. I wonder if Elvis Presley really loved his mother. All that yappity yak talk about mama. Well, really, if he loved his mother and he loved her memory, would he honor her by dying in a bathroom reading Sex Magic by Aleister Crowley? Hell no. I wonder if Elvis Presley really loved his mother, because it's not how I want to die. Where the duodenum meets the jejunum is called the duodenal jejunal flexure. And I am so thrilled that at age 55 I had to start learning medical terms. Randy, look at this. What is this? What are these people doing to me, man?
Which then becomes the rest of the small intestine. And here we find a structure that I never really talk about much, but my favourite surgeons always mention it whenever they're describing this region, and that's the ligament of Treitz.
And I don't even know anything about the ligament of the Treitz. I'm just trying to say I got some of these body parts. Randy has a heart. We'll be looking at these stuffs in just a minute. But the hardest thing for me is saying these doggone words, Randy.
Loud.
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
This is called the duodenojejunal flexure. I don't think I can say it any faster than that. So that then becomes...
Get back in here, Ruger.
The jejunum or jejunum, which then becomes the rest of the small intestine. And here we find a structure that I never really talk about much.
Where'd he get the model?
Oh, it's expensive looking, isn't it?
I think, yeah, it'd be rather pricey.
Yeah. Shoot, I thought I had one of the pictures pulled up that would have matched the duodenum that I have. Oh, anyway, we'll get to it. So, anyway, here's a new stomach I have. Pretty sure it's a stomach, but I don't want to go on record as like 100% sure. But I took that perineum skin off of it to show more of the, the surrounding, investment points, the succuluses that kind of focus there. There you go. But I got a new one of those, kind of oiled up and good to go. I kind of chopped up the other one, but it didn't, it was just so hard. I couldn't see through it. So, do you want to keep going? Do you want to show your stones now and tease them, and then we can go over some of those emails that you sent me and kind of like, because I know that once you start holding up your rock, it's a lot bigger. But
snow just went off my roof. I don't know if you heard that, but
I'm sure, Lord willing, someday people will play it back and go, I heard it. But, I only think I heard it. So I'm looking up something right now. And then we'll look at your stone.
Okay.
That way it'll just expedite this situation. So you got it all cleaned off and everything?
Well, actually, there's some spots where either that oil is evaporating, but
or it's soaking in.
Yeah. I'll hold up the large single half first, and then we'll work our way to that partial half that has that bigger cavity.
Okay.
Maybe.
I've got a web page pulled up so that, we can show him some pictures of diagrams of hearts labeled. You know what I saw? The weirdest thing today. You've heard of that, the Babylon Bee.
Oh yeah, I read that. There's stuff every day. I've contributed to their cause.
I was surprised that Elon Musk would consent to an interview with him.
Yeah, he
So-
did that probably a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
No.
So we can see, where my mouse is now. And then on this side, what he's done is he's taken a heart and cut it in half. But we still see, that the vein and artery because where his left hand is on the top of the heart. And as he spins it around, this would, there's all these other parts because the heart is connected, as you'll see, all of the body parts are in many, many numerous ways. And once you can kind of learn the outside pattern that it's not going to always be, oh, okay, there's a good shot too. Kind of just lift it up a couple inches. I know it's getting heavy, but right there is a good example of how, if it's a vein and artery, it'd be feeding in here and then self-sealing right here. Go ahead and show them the cut part if you can hold it up a little bit more, because on this side, you'll see the start of a cavity that would have been one of the chambers that had just fired on that push-pull stroke of the helical heart. And you can see all of the other muscle and the busyness going on inside a rock. Doesn't match the outside because, well, it's not. It's doing the work on the inside. Okay, Randy, go ahead and save your arms on that one.
Yeah, that's the
heaviest one, right?
That's a full half of the original heart. Yeah.
Just amazing. And he cut this today after plowing snow. Want to welcome Sean to watching this live here. So here's a half of the bottom of the other half of that heart. And, here's, Dr. Mike Wilkerson, who does nephroforensics. He knows all the names because he had, 6 years of medical school to be a chiropractor over there in Spain. I guess chiropractors are treated with more respect over there. And then kind of like, can we see that angled cut so we can see the angle and then the flat side at the same time?
And here is where where's some red spots right here by my, let's see where there's one, there's three of them. There's one up there. And then there's one right there on that edge.
So obviously those would tie into the blood supply. People will be able
there's the angle cut. And then there's that other half.
And there is that, part of a cavity that would have been formed from the push-pull. Kind of like lean that angled stuff in there so we can see how, okay, the muscles, you can see it. There was something, a swirl going on in here, and then it follows right around the edge. Here you can see that that's part of the same thing, starting here, going over to here, up and over. You can, this is, we've only done this 7 or 8 times, but it always works. And you can always trace the body part. It's always going to work out. And eventually, go ahead and rest your arms, Randy. It always works out. And eventually, we're going to, somebody with a bigger budget is going to, realize these guys that are always trying to prove these body parts for the Bible, they'll going to go like, didn't they used to say you could find gold doing it that way? And unfortunately, and Doug and I and you agreed when you came on board in 2018 that it's not good to show them how to find the gold at this point in history and let them figure it out for ourselves. But yeah, all of these body parts lead to gold in the ganglion nerves because we base that on the Bible, because that's the only thing we want to use the body parts for, not to find the gold to get rich. And when we read the Bible, it talks about how there's 24 elders in heaven that have gold vials that whenever the Lord is praised, they throw them out in front of the crown, the throne, which I believe and teach is the pineal gland. And it is symbolic of what it's going to be like in heaven for one reason. It's going to be like that in heaven because Jesus Christ has, from eternity past, been God the Spirit spoken of in John chapter 4, verse 24. God is a spirit. Those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. But at some point in his creative endeavors, Randy, there came something that they called Satan, and it sinned in heaven. There was a sin in heaven before Eve sinned and Satan ended up eating dust on the ground. You know, that's where these body parts came from, Randy. Am I explaining that right? Is there anything I'm missing?
No, I guess no, you hit it pretty good. You know, as far as Lucifer and his pride and doing, you know, trying to get whatever, a third of the angels to follow him, or I mean, he probably wanted all of them, but at least
I'm sure he did.
But he did get a significant amount, you know, to follow him.
Right. And so that's where we're at. The Bible says in 1 John 3, verse 8, that the reason Jesus appeared was because there was sin in heaven. And so after this, you know, there was a creation experience, and we believe that there, you know, not only was Noah's flood and then the reaping, the loosening of Satan, you know, is upon us now. It also, you know, we have signs that there was a World War I in the world, but I teach, and you know, a lot of people agree that World War I never ended, not just because it was an armistice, but World War II evolved, and this has always just been kind of like a big race war of Satan, where it's never ended. You know, I mean, we're just going from genocide to genocide, and they signed peace treaties, but and we have the whole, not just because of QAnon, but going back to JFK's election, you know, that was rigged also. And then, you know,
yeah, about the only treaty that they haven't really broken was the Antarctic Treaty
so far. So that's what leads us to, you know, to all of these things, to showing body parts. And so that's what we're going to do today. I have, you know, things pulled up about, you know, this, you know, the whole thing, Einstein's blunder, you know, anybody, you know, why do I think, you know, that, you know, beast, false prophet, because anybody that believes that he figured out and then they corrected it, you know, because Einstein was wrong, but it was good enough to get everybody involved in World War I. But when they needed a fake World War II and atomic weapons, he had to change, and he had to agree with, well, you've heard the name Hubble, the Hubble telescopes. They needed an American hero for a little while, not, you know, because they merged, but it's all, just listen for some nonsense.
Will tell you whether the spaceship is stationary on the surface of the Earth, like in the right-hand side of this picture, and the acceleration is therefore due to the presence of the Earth mass, or whether it is actually accelerating upwards in empty space under the influence of its rockets at the same rate. This is called the equivalence principle, which Einstein formulated over.
Which is why people in the flat Earth society, you know, say we are, you know, flat Earth is falling, and that's what makes gravity, and they have all of these lies. But I could just scratch the surface on Einstein's stupidity, you know, but you know, there's all of these fields, you know, space-like unit vector fields. You know, there were things that didn't work out. The lambda vacuum solution, This is what was Einstein's error that worked for a while, and then you had to change it. And they even admit they wrote these at such high standards to keep what they called the common man from ever even attempting to understand it. They come up with a cosmological constant. We'll look at that in more detail pretty soon. But then vacuums, the definitions for vacuums change more than the definitions for vaccines. That was supposed to be funny. That was funny in my head, but when I said it, it was just like, this is too serious for any type of humor right now, I guess, but once again,
nice try.
Once again, when people do this, because we're definitely like the people, like the guy who inspired Marconi, we're never going to get any credit for this, Randy. Tommy's not, we're not. I mean, right now, I can't even go because I believe the whole Bible. I mean, people get turned off like, well, you've taken a lot of grief. I mean, you were on the school board, and you were an elder, and you were in a church that didn't allow women preachers, Randy. Oh my goodness, you must be an animal. You must be some sort of a savage beast. And then last night I mentioned, I don't think women should preach. And all of a sudden it was just like, I started getting attacked in the chat room like I'm there, like, all of a sudden I don't like those caramel turtles from Stuckey's or something. No, I do like them. They're delicious. I mean, it's caramels and pecans. What's not to like with chocolate? Come on, but the Bible, if we're going to be like all of these guys that are into, we like the whole Bible, well, we're not going to ignore those points that, women can talk in a Bible study. They can come on my show and be interviewed and, hey, show me what the Lord's telling you. But if we're ever having a so-called church service, if a woman starts prophesying or something, I'm going to go like, hold on a minute. I got a problem with that. I thought I explained that. I thought we knew that. But yeah, and here this is coming from the guy that's all about bucking the conservative thing of like, sure, there's women deacons. I believe that. I do believe that. I mean, because I believe the Bible. And it, called Priscilla a deacon. So good. Meet with the other deacons and tell the elders how to spend the money, but don't come prophesying when I'm trying to give a sermon. It's just not going to be like, oh, just let it go. Not one time. But it's not because I don't like women. I have 3 daughters. I love them all. My wife, is still, I couldn't have done it without her, I couldn't have been a dad without her. But anyway, we're going to keep doing what we do because all of these guys are bending space and bending time. And well, see, now I'm even hearing things like space-time has a physical property. And it's like, right. I'm going like, maybe, I don't know, kind of something. I don't know. Is there a physical something in a magnetic vortex as it spins both ways around its poles, making that field of either acceptance or rejection? Can you help us out there? No, I can't either. We're taking a break to look at, so we kind of looked at the lambda, but just some of the words, well, here's your basic, they want, so gravity is affecting something, some here, somehow, but I don't have time to learn all of their different, equations and what they mean. Somehow energy is being affected, but, I got trouble with medical terms. I got trouble with their, Minkowski space-time or Lorentz transformation, what group it is in. The Bible's not going to study itself, and I could either study this or that. And I get embarrassed that I don't know some of these words sometime. Oh, now exact solution in general relativity, there aren't any because it's all made up. Go ahead and choose one, Randy. Just any one of these catch your eye here?
Not one over the other, I guess. It all looks Greek to me.
Yeah, but let's just check. Here's one that I've never heard: the dust solution. But I'm into dust. In general relativity, a dust solution is a fluid solution because sand acts like a fluid. A type of exact solution of the Einstein field equation in which the gravitational field is produced entirely by the mass, momentum, and stress density of a perfect fluid.
Well, even that statement, being gravity in itself is a theory. I don't know about, I know as far as physics of different materials having mass, that's more than just a theory. But when you take some of them assumptions and throw them in there like it's some sort of law, which it's not.
Which even the how would we know what a perfect fluid looks like? But you have to hold it up, and that's what we have to do is stop just saying when we do their debates, they could say, okay, well, just imagine a perfect world. You can just go, no, don't imagine a perfect world. Let's imagine what we're dealing with right now.
When it comes to a fluid, it's a matter of how wet is it?
Yeah, and how much stress is on, a magnetic current passing through a quote unquote perfect fluid. Could you be more vague? I mean, they're probably apologizing. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be as vague as I can. Fluid solutions, field models, dust models. A pressureless perfect fluid can be interpreted as a model of a configuration of dust particles. You're a configuration of dust particles there, big brother.
Yeah, living dust in a tent.
You locally move in concert and interact with each other only on, okay, they had me and they lost me, dust particle brother. They want you to believe that, you are going to interact with each other only gravitationally.
Yeah.
Because this, the sun and the moon are gravitating around the sun, and the moon are gravitating around the Milky Way, spinning around the Andromeda system, which is a part. No, wait. Are we in the Andromeda system or a part of the Milky Way?
Or more of a Mars bar.
So anyway, here's this whole sign convention. I was looking at his field equations. There it is. That made him famous. Got himself a commemorative coin. Got himself on the wall in Leiden, Germany. There's the answer to everything. It's a lie. That's a double lie. It's all just sold to people because they're desperate, because they've been told about the cosmological constant first and then switch to dark matter later. Gonna fly now. Yay. Flying high now. There's your cosmic microwave background, whatever. How about that? What would we be without dark matter and dark energy that they made up in between the wars? With a math that doesn't work, it can't be checked.
Don't step in it because it might be hard to scrape it off your shoe.
Oh, but look at that. So you are here very insignificantly. You'll never be judged. You came from a monkey because you're a monkey. Originally introduced this constant in 1917, but it was because of the static universe that, that was a notion which was accepted, later abandoned right before they confiscated your grandpappy, Your daddy's gold. Randy from Wisconsin, where are we at?
Can you be more vague or specific? Yeah, I know where I'm at.
Yeah. We're at.
I know where I'm at.
We're almost at 2022.
Okay, if that's what you want to call it, fine.
1931. This guy Hubble, and Hubble is getting passed up by a guy named Webb. So we'll have to look at him at some point in the future. But anyway, once they got this figured out, that they finally talked the false prophet to bring fire down from heaven, the beast. I mean, he's going to bring the fire down. And they showed him and they believed it. So they're still, we got a new surprising. So this worked from 1930s. They made that work till the late 1990s when most physicists agreed that was stupid too. That changed with the surprising discovery then in 1988. That's right when I started to plan for the Y2K, which really is going to happen in 2038 with the Unix epoch when that ends. But in 1998, as I started Y2K, they were discovering that the expansion of the universe is accelerating. That's just crazy, man. Let's start worrying about something else now. Somehow that's going to help us get to Mars, I think.
Okay.
If I had Elon Musk on my show, Babylon Bee, I would have started with how many children have you eaten? I don't know why I brought that up, but there it is. Quantum field theory, it's stupid. 0-point energy, shut up. It's all out there for free. Static University, Edwin Hubble. A man who's in every picture with Einstein when he visited San Francisco to change his mind, when they wined and dined him to change his mind. And he never mentioned him by name, but he's in every picture with him. Never mentioned him by name. Here's your sequence of events if you want to get involved in their side of the matrix. The static universe is something that, hey, Euclid got involved in there somehow. The Euclidean geometry. I kind of get that. His calculus is somewhat useful sometimes. Redshift distance, see, I started out my whole morning knowing there was going to be some sort of redshift thing involved in this whole crap anyway. Hey, did you see that what Alex Jones said? Oh,
you mean recently?
Yeah. He thinks
Probably
that,
not.
He said that Trump is a setup, man. He's evil. He's either stupid or evil by promoting what he promotes. But Alexa, here, this is from the 28th. Alexa told a 10-year-old girl to touch a live plug with a penny.
Just for the humor part or what?
Well, no, the girl was doing she was bored, so they were trying to do the right thing, doing some exercising, like some of these, can you do a plank for a minute, And so the suggestion came to the girl after the girl asked Alexa for a challenge to do, another challenge to do. And so Alexa came up with plug in a phone charger about halfway into a wall outlet, then touch a penny to the exposed prongs.
Oh, and test out how good your circuit breaker's working?
Yeah, Amazon said it fixed that error as soon as the company knew about it. They were doing some physical challenges like lying down and rolling over, holding a shoe on your foot from a physical education teacher on YouTube because of bad weather. She wanted to do another one. So they said, that's when the Echo speaker suggested partaking in the challenge that it had found on the web. the dangerous activity was called the penny challenge that started on TikTok.
Oh, it wasn't on that movie Jackass then, huh?
No, because you know what that movie Jackass proved is all you got to do is give people enough cocaine and they will push themselves down the stairs in a grocery cart and get famous. And that's really all you need to go like, hey.
Your moment of fame.
Yeah.
And your moment of pain.
There's this Kashmir moment that is involved in their quantum physics. And it reminded me of the song Kashmir.
Oh, Led Zeppelin?
Yeah, where it said talk and song from tongues of lilting grace. Sounds caress my ear, though not a word I heard could I relate. The story was quite clear. He's been flying. Yeah, mama cares. Ain't no denying. Huh. I am a traveler of both time and space, to be where I have been, to sit with elders of a gentle race this world has seldom seen. We talk of days for which they sit and wait, when all will be revealed. Huh. That's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, the father of the four winds fill my sails across the sea of years with no provision but an open face along the straits of fear. I know that they had that other song, the immigrant song, where it says, you know, on we row with thrashing oars, our only goal will be the western shore. Tonight you better stop reaping all the ruins. So, you know, I think they were in on it too. So I'm going to be showing this part that he has shaking here, your greater omentum.
It's this thing, this flap that floats over the small intestine. You have to put it back to see most of the intestines deep to it. The Latin word omentum means apron. So
yeah, so I got one here. I might as well show it now. That's what, just rolling with the tabs, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Ugh. See that? See how thin it is?
Oh, yeah.
That red layer there? That's that perineum. It's folded over twice, which is why you can see it's folded over twice. Hey, this is heavy.
That's the apron?
Well, this is part of the bowel.
Oh.
See, it protects the bowel system. And then the greater omentum is that skin on the top, that little flappy thing. Dang, man.
Like a membrane.
Oh, yeah. I'll go back and show that video. So that's that flappy double layer there that's protecting that transverse colon I was presenting the other day. Oh, that's heavy.
So that's where that word has come from, certainly according to Arnold's Glossary of Anatomy anyway. I've also read that the ancient Egyptians used to look at the omentum to determine their omens, and that's where the name came from, but I am somewhat skeptical of that.
I'm not.
Pepluin, it's a great word, is the ancient Greek word meaning floating, and this kind of floats over the small intestine. So although this is called the greater omentum, we'll see that blood vessels and other structures around here relating to this get called epiploic.
So that's why so many.
So that goes down as attached near the genitalia area. Like if you get a rupture, it would be in that.
That protects your six pack.
Oh, okay.
And for, you know, in all of these other, you know, situations, you know, like when you see the curves that are in, because this, and you can see that, I have one of the, that is, connects to the esophagus, I believe, these, and the parts that are rounded, you could see those angles on them. And you always see them. I don't know if I have any more rounded ones here, but I've shown a lot of them, how they're, why a stone is, has those perfectly rounded edges is because, I got to click to share. Is because as you can see, there's all kinds of things that are round in your stomach that, they're round. And so when they were frozen in judgment by the glittering sword, they're going to stay round. What is it? Yeah, here. Well, this is
my favourite surgeons always mention it whenever they're describing this region, and that's the ligament of Treitz, because it's a landmark for them. It's at that point here. At that
no, I don't want to skip to. I want to stay on the greater omentum.
Curves up and then drops back down again. The ligament of Treitz is also called the suspensory omentum. So that's where those two terms come from. While we're talking about fun historical stuff, Galen, one of the very early anatomists, wrote down gladiators. Yeah, we're going that far back.
Galen was a Greek from the BC era, before Christ.
Gladiator who had much of his greater omentum removed after a stab injury, and he complained for the rest of his life that he was cold. We might see some relation to the structure in that as we go. To talk about the greater omentum, we're going to need to look at some other...
But we're going to jump ahead. So he's going to get out the plastic wrap and show you the perineum. And what the perineum is, and I want to show you too, is like the... well, I'll have to show you on this one. It's like, because you can't get it all off, but there's an outer layer of skin that wraps all these organs. And sometimes, it's what makes a bunch of rocks look all the same until you break them open. And it usually, it'll look like this corner here, just that real thin layer on top. And then, of course, when you cut that off, you'd get a much, different stone on the inside. But it's real important.
It looks like a veneer, kind of.
It is. That's a good way of describing it. So, and here's how he puts, he tells you that that's what you're looking at.
Today, but the early embryonic gut tube, belly, single layer of peritoneum. So this would be the parietal peritoneum. And then the stomach, as part of that early gut tube, when the stomach starts to form, it's here. It's that side of the peritoneum, which means that as it pushes out into the space, as it were.
So he struggles a little bit here, but now he's going to reassemble it and show you that the greater omentum is the perineum, that is, where the nutrients, if there's an emergency and you need to get it in your bloodstream, just arrive wirelessly, which is why there's some pebbles and stuff on top of this greater omentum I showed you. And then the other part hangs down at the bottom and becomes where your fat is stored in between these either 2 or 4 layers, however you want to describe the perineum, that changes into the greater omentum.
And grown, as we put that back, what happens is then those 2 layers curve back. And in the adult, this thing is called the greater omentum. So these are all sheets of peritoneum, but where those sheets of peritoneum form structures, we like to give them names because that's how we can describe where things are. That's what anatomy is. So this then is the greater omentum forming here. It's two sheets of peritoneum. They loop down and they loop back up again. And in the adult, they actually run back to the transverse colon. They blend with the transverse colon, and the transverse colon has got its own mesentery. So the transverse colon is then attached to the posterior abdominal wall by the transverse mesocolon, which is the same thing. It's two layers of peritoneum that have come together to form a mesentery, and that's what the greater omentum is. So you might hear the greater omentum described as 4 layers or 2 layers. Do you understand why that might be the case? It is a 2-layered thing, but because it loops down and back up again, in total it's forming 4 layers. Do you see what I mean? Don't get confused by that. It's basically this idea. 2 layers of peritoneum go down and loop back up again and blend with the mesocolon there. Remember, we've got 2 layers there coming together, looping around, and going back up again. That's what the greater omentum is. And the greater omentum then becomes filled with fat. It's a great store of adipose tissue. You can store a lot of fat here. So if somebody is very fat, if they're obese, they will store a lot of fat in the greater omentum. Is that why the gladiator got cold? Maybe. It has a rich blood supply, and it also has lymphatic drainage and immune cells within it. You'll hear descriptions of milky white spots. And in those milky white spots there.
Okay, so that's getting a little deep in the weeds, but Randy, that's my challenge is I can't explain it any better than that. And when I try to explain it, they go and, just like what they're saying, is like, hey, you sound like an old volleyball coach that's explaining medicine. And I'm like, I'm an old volleyball coach that is explaining medicine now, So that's where we're at, that it's all there. It's always, it's always rocks or body parts. The blood gets washed away, the wood, hay, and stubble of the ones that didn't make it. You didn't make it, and just like everything in our life is not going to be judged like you were perfect. We are all forgiven sinners. There's going to be wood, stubble, and hay that get dross, that gets burned away. So do you want to I've got some just check these out. So I've got some pictures of your hearts, and now when Randy holds this up, all of these attachments of, like, when we say there's a succulus point or an investment point, and he was, struggling because that's a heavy rock and holding up that one side where I was telling you, hold on to your index finger. The reason all those bumps and ripples are there is because all of these things were attached to it at one time. The reason over to the other side you see, kind of a flat spot but bumpy is because, well, the superior vena cava and the right pulmonary veins and things are on this side. A lot of times this whole right atrium just falls right off. It didn't this time, but a lot of times it does. But you'll be able to see that thing, and then where the superior vena cava exits on the other side of the heart is where you get, when he shows it, you'll be able to see this little dippity doodah here. That's not medical term, but that's just the way it is. That's what we have to call it. And and when you flip it, well, I wish they could flip it better, but you'll see how some of these flat spots have this. And remember, the heart that he's going to be showing was stopped by the glittering sword in motion. It's not like you see the pictures of an autopsied heart, where it just expired. So you'll see that, a lot of these times, these points, which is why, you're going to find where he found that that one cavity, that chamber. It's always going to be, around one of these points in the, it's going to catch it one way or the other. But it's a helical heart. We're still learning a lot about it and how to describe it. But you're not looking for this part of the heart. These break off and become gemstones because they're filled with fluids. And then you just take off that skin layer on that and you get to the gemstone. Sometimes they crack and they're crystals, but this is an idealized version of what they see as a dead heart. What Randy's going to be holding up is similar, but it's not going to be exactly the correct. And so these cavities are usually going to either be by the left ventricle or the right ventricle, wherever it was getting that push-pull at that time when the glittering sword hit it. So with that, Randy, you feel like you're ready to, you think that'll help some?
Maybe. Yeah, it couldn't hurt anything.
That plastic was supposed to be the perineum. The perineum. Right. Nice to see you. Muddy Orphans 1812. Angie Ray has been in the house. She's a singer. She sings. Yeah, we're still alive. We're not still live. We're live again.
That I guess to start out the orientation, so
that here's your heart, and you can see the flat spots where those would have fallen off and where the attachments were, and how come it's so busy on the top. That remember all the things that fall off and break off to leave the meat of everything there together. And then remember where I said where his hand was. Here's how come it's so busy on the side. Remember, those are attached to the sides. And that's why you see these investment points, succulus points, and this was caught in the middle because nobody drowned in the flood. Randy, I got to emphasize that to them one more time. Okay, let's see let's see your cut spot. And there is that part of a cavity and the busyness of what's going on inside a heart. And, with still pictures and everything else, we'll be able to get in here and track all of those little holes as blood supplies and where the meat is. Yeah, I've liked rocks all my life too, Angie, and I never could have predicted that the Lord would have showed me this. So once again, here's the bottom. Now he cut this one is only half of that one other side. So it's probably the right ventricle, but I don't really know. But you can see the way it's flowing. And hey, go back to that corner cut again. I think you can see two different sides keep going slowly because right there, okay, hold it right there. I think you can see a darker blood being returned to the lung right here, and this line being a fresher supply of the freshly oxygenated blood as it goes down the right vena cava to start it. And then here is your more used up blood, I would say, as it gets sucked into the vortex. Okay, don't wear yourself out, Randy. What else you got?
I'm good. And then there's that red spot.
And here's those red spots. So we'll have to look for some major blood supplies to the heart. Put that down for a second, Randy.
And there's that other red spot.
So they're going to be close together there. And something was attached there.
And then, yeah, this is the other. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, and then this is the other half or section of that one that had the bigger cavity.
Yeah. So do you guys just see what you see in that stone? Let it call out to you in your own way. You've seen the pictures now, and the Lord can talk to you. I love that angle on that cut, man. And you can see. Let's see if try to get it as close to one edge and see if we can see the perineum skin, because now this will only have 2 layers of the skin. So
you mean like this?
Yeah, to where we can see a cut edge. But you can
it's really thin, that veneer.
The skin of a heart is, thinner than a dime, and the pressures that go through it, if it wasn't for that perfect balance of that helical heart doing that spin, that for every push there's a pull, for every push there is a pull, so there's zero viscosity in the heart, which is why those can, supply, keep the blood moving, is because it's doing it in a it is almost a zero viscosity because of this swastika. This swastika pulls the this swastika with a V pushes the bad blood out. The swastika pulls the good blood in, and when the swastika pulls the good blood in, the swastika is pushing it in to the left portion of your lung to become refreshed, your both lungs, and then it comes back into your heart once it gets oxygenated and fresh. You truly are fearfully and wonderfully made.
See, that's that piece that I said just chipped off while I was cutting it, but
my guess is if you polish that, it'll be a gemstone of all probably one side of one blood supply or something like that.
But yeah, that's my dissecting for the day.
That was some good stuff, brother. So we've looked at that, and we have some other dissecting going on today. My good friend Lynn has, a stone that he thinks his stone looks like a real malice. Which one is the stone and which one is the real malice?
Neat.
We got a couple of videos, and so let's see here. He's showing this part because he thinks of this. We got this and this. It's going to be something like that, because these were working together in a body at one time, and they obviously,
interlock. Yeah,
exactly. And that's where rocks came from. They didn't explode and erode this way. And how long ago?
They've been there a while.
Now, this is interesting. I don't know what we're looking at here, but we'll look at the email and see if he describes it. But I have one of these. That kind of looks like a rib. I know that you're not supposed to judge just by that, but here's this part. Something's coming out. So we got those going for us. We got that going for you. I'll go grab a part of one of my short ribs. It's either a short rib or a floating rib. That grass is green. It's affected my green screen. But, when this one gets wet, you can see, like I'll show you this part right here, that you can see, well, I guess I don't need to get the oil out. You can see that the ribs have the muscle attached to it at one point. And here's the point where, the muscle attaches on that floating rib or the short rib. So you've got to have that layer of muscle, and that's how it invests into the rest of the rib, coming down to its natural point, with it being, the rib gets a lot, there's a lot going on in the rib. That's where a lot of production of chemicals for your body happens. It's what Eve was made from for a reason. Okay, so now, Randy, we got, pretty good hour show there, man, on rock parts and stuff like this. And now I gotta ask you a question, brother. Were you trying to scare me today when you sent me this video?
Well, not exactly, but
because I was struggling. I mean, if you want to get the people, separated, and now whether it's a chemtrail war, whether those DEW systems are attacking us with weapons, or it's all just God's judgment, people are being separated to where it's like where you used to be and think you're in touch with the world, it's all getting shut up and shut down, and we're being separated now, right?
Well, some are, yeah. We try, yeah, don't exclude anyone.
Right. And if you haven't yet, it doesn't mean something's not coming your way pretty soon, maybe even this week.
You might have some momentum behind it also.
But the world is, it's in the news every day, and just as long, but we can keep whistling past the graveyard. It's never going to happen to us. We'll never have to start over at zero, or wish okay. I'll never regret not having a generator. And even sometimes people with generators, they're not going to make it, right?
Well, do you need fuel for it? I don't know.
Might make the first couple of days easier.
Possibly.
But, then again, this could just be fear porn, Randy. We could just be trying to scare them and trying to say, come to Jesus right now.
Yeah, Mother Nature being the violent side of Mother Nature.
This was on the 23rd. I guess you could, drive your motorcycle. It might look worse than it is. Or is that guy just that good of a motorcycle rider?
Well, if you're trying to hit the exit, you might not be real fussy.
Right.
That's available.
At least he had his go bag with him, right?
Oh, yeah. Packed in advance. Grab and go.
Here, this is in Queensland, Australia. That's where Ella is from. And she hasn't been posting any videos or anything. I wonder if...
Well, maybe it's not her neighborhood. I don't know.
Maybe not, but maybe their power and everything is messed up. Okay, that's not a good time. You don't want to be in those, that's not fun.
In the Ferris wheel?
Yeah. We got fires. That there's a lot of weird fires in the world.
Yeah, like the ones out west where, it'll melt the masonry, but the tree is fine right outside.
And then
The
other
grass,
times,
so,
other times trees start burning from the inside.
yeah, or the car is melted.
Watch these tornadoes come up in the fire. Weird. This is all going to be too real very soon.
Seems like it.
There you go. Drop that. You can put that fire out.
Yeah, trying to slow down moving water like that might be more of a challenge.
Run, panda bears or whatever. What do we got going? There's not pandas. Pandas are all in zoos. I knew it wasn't a panda. It just looked like a panda. Hey, you know what? Now those goldfish can grow. Kind of cloudy. Oh, that's a dust storm.
Yeah,
That was in South Africa on the 22nd.
Yeah, these are all fairly recent current events. Worldwide.
Yep. Ecuador had an earthquake in Texas a little while ago.
Monday. Tide's coming in pretty fast there.
Yeah. So that was the earthquake.
Yeah, a whole lot of shaking going on.
Now, what's up with this one?
Or as a money-making scam.
Oh, this one you sent me got banned.
Yeah, wasn't that the one that described them body parts? The heart that was 2 miles square, and then the genitalia that was 3 miles long, and it said where to go find them. Wasn't that the one?
No, this was another one. Maybe we'll find that other one. Now, what was this? This is another one you sent me. I like this one.
Yeah, I commented on this one somewhere. But because when I watched it, there was maybe a dozen comments or so at that time.
I wanted to show it all.
A lot more now.
Read it and read the whole story. So I've got
Yeah, it was fresh when
I'm going to read and some cool imagery.
it'd been up for maybe 15 minutes.
Photos, and I just wanted to include this one at the beginning because this one really shows that we know nothing. It shows that there is so much buried below us at any point in time. Every field you see, every golf course, every cemetery could have something like this below it. They're the start of our civilization on Earth, and humans, and whatever was better than humans at one point, the giants, is so mysterious and so packed with clues surrounding us that I pray we find it out. So this is what the article is about, and the whole thing is about education in less developed countries, but it tells an example. The guy that does a speech in August 10th, 1965, I believe he was with Time Magazine or something at the time, and he gives an amazing speech, and in the speech he tells a story about this guy that he meets who's a Tartarian, and it has a lot of cool inferences and things that I think we can learn from the last of the Tartarians, like a couple little clues that tell a little bit about the people that were vanquished. And so here we go. He says, I intend to approach this problem by citing several examples of problems met with in Soviet education. I have decided to do this for 3 reasons. In the first place, because I have had some opportunity to observe Soviet education at close range. In the second place, because the subject of this whole conference includes the phrase, in all countries of the world. Though nearly half of the human race currently lives in countries dominated by one kind of communism or another, no speaker has dealt in any detail with Soviet education. In the third place, because, as I hope to demonstrate, Soviet experience is relevant to and instructive in analyzing current educational problems in the less developed countries of the world. So he goes on to say, I went to the Soviet Union in 1932 as a very young man and worked for several years in a steel mill in the city of Magnitogorsk. A week after my arrival, another young man arrived in the city about whom I would like to tell you, because through his eyes and experience, I think I can make several points more clearly than I could with historic generalizations or statistics. Haight was a Tartar. He came from an obscure village in central Kazakhstan. When he arrived in Magnitogorsk, he had never seen an electric light, a staircase, or a locomotive. He had seen a hammer, but never used one. He was illiterate. He spoke almost no Russian. He communicated monosyllabically with fellow Tartars in that language. Furthermore, the village from which he came was a backward one, and people believed that washing more frequently than once a year was not only dangerous for one's health, but verged on the sacrilegious, because it jeopardized the lives of those parasites which they considered normal expressions of man's personality. That is amazing. Haight had many such parasites, and for this and other reasons, he was not a person one would select as a close associate if one had a choice. In this case, there was not much choice, for Haight arrived in our gang in response to an urgent request by the foreman to the personnel department of the plant for an electrician. It was immediately obvious when Haight appeared that he was not an electrician. But this
Randy, I love this video. You know,
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a nice story, and
it fits our timelines, you know, and you know, I let it just wash over me knowing what I know about the Bible and recent resets and everything else.
and what he called shampoo.
Right. And this whole thing is just going to get better and better, and people just have to, you know, enjoy it, and then we'll have a short Bible study.
Yeah, and it's a fresh video.
Yes, it is. 17 hours ago.
Disturbed the foreman, who, accustomed to dealing with Soviet reality, did not need an electrician, but in fact only a body, a man to sit in a booth where we had motor generators producing direct current for electric wielding. There he was to watch an electric light bulb in the ceiling, and when it went out, as it did several times a day, as the result of breakdowns in the powerhouse or on the line, he was to switch the motors off, then switch them on again when the juice came back. The foreman undertook to explain this simple operation to Haight in sign language, and Haight went to work. During his first day, he burned out 3 motors. During the first week, several more. For the first month, Haight sat in his little booth gazing up at the large installations of the mill without any comprehension of what was going on. He had come to Magnitogorsk to get a larger bread ration card, which he had received, and that was the extent of his interest. But gradually 2 things happened to Haight. In the first place, he began to learn to speak the Russian language by a sort of osmosis in contact with the people around him. In the second place, he began to learn to read in a circle for adult illiterates, of whom there were at that time perhaps 50,000 in the city. I would see Haight at work laboriously spelling out words from a reader as he learned to read, and as he learned to speak the language of the area, Haight's intellectual horizons suddenly broadened. He became aware of things which we in the West encounter at an early age, but which Haight in his 20s had previously been unaware of. He learned, for example, that he lived in a country called the Soviet Union. Previously, he had been aware of his village and of his province, but not of the Soviet Union. He learned that there was something called the 5-year plan. I remember his explanation of the substance.
This is a gift that just keeps giving. I mean, because he would have believed, you know, if his camp, if his, you know, gene pool or whatever happened would have been assigned to the United States, he would have said, oh, now I'm in the United States. This is my country. I live here. We're ruled by these people. Any comments, Randy?
Yeah, other than the language barrier and that amount of time to acquire, the skills to communicate and then be self-taught.
Right, because they had pegged him as somebody that was monosyllabic. He only knew one syllable words.
And he was already a young adult, so.
Right, but that's the way they made him.
Well, he should be a loyal slave, maybe.
We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
You see all those machines over there and those miserable shoes pointing to his own ragged footwear? The leather that could have been my shoes was sent abroad to pay for those machines. A simplistic but essentially accurate description of the economics of the first 5-year plan. I remember on another occasion Shaimet's explanation to me of the purpose of our efforts in Magnitogorsk. You see, Shaimet knew that he had come a long way from his village to Magnitogorsk. He had walked about 3 weeks, and he knew that on arrival he had been very ignorant. He had been told by others that I came from America, which was even farther away, and he logically concluded that I must have been even more ignorant than he had been when I arrived. On this occasion, he undertook to explain to me what we were doing. You see, the idea here is to take that red dirt from the mountain up there and bring it down here and make iron out of it. A simplistic but essentially accurate description of the process of ferrous metallurgy. From that point on, Shaimet went very rapidly. I left the city in 1937, at which time Shaimet was going to night school studying about ergs and amperes and problems of electrotechnology, frequently studied in the West at university level. His way of life had changed radically. He washed regularly. He dressed much better. He read magazines and newspapers. These, to be sure, were tendentious, but Shaimet's horizons had broadened more than had those of his Tartar antecedents since the days of Genghis Khan. Shaimet was not alone. The entire community at this time was going through a similar metamorphosis. Some 2/3 of the 230,000 inhabitants of Magnitogorsk were going to some kind of school, studying everything from engineering to literacy, along with obligatory courses in political orientation. Yikes. So that's how it goes. They take people that are from third world-ish countries.
And the Soviet Union, like the United States, Randy, they have a doctrine. There is no God. It is evolution. Yeah, we claim it, but it's mocked. If you're going to run for president, you couldn't be a creationist Christian.
Yeah, not any longer. Yeah, as far as manifest destiny goes, yeah.
They keep changing it. There's a time and place for it. They'll use God when they need him, but they don't really believe in the God I worship.
Unlikely, yeah.
Let's see what else they have to say now.
They move them around, fill them, put them in places, and give them the Western education that makes them so smart. Nowadays, they give them smartphones, and they would be like, wow, I'm so smart. But is all of that smarter? Like, the one thing that caught my attention and that made me want to redo this and read this for all you guys was the fact that he was living without cleaning himself. He cleaned himself once a year. Now, I find that absolutely incredible, because I am a big stickler for just belief that shampoo is a sham of poo, of poison that you put in your hair. And I believe that 99% of the soaps out there are unbearably toxic. And just like in the gut, how they'll tell you, oh, antibiotics are nice. They don't do anything bad to your stomach or your intestines. Meanwhile, they ravage and kill everything that's good. I think that I'm willing to believe that our skins are probably supposed to have different parasites growing on them, different things that make our bodies more unique and much more healthy, probably, because all this sterilization, all this antibacterial crap, all this just nonsense sterilizes this world, gets rid of an entire array of life forms that are microscopic, that were necessary and have always been necessary. And we're just slowly getting rid of them on our hands, everywhere. Everyone's so worried about grooming and shaving. It's like all that hair has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. But we're just so deluded with our education, our Western education, and all these ideas that the media puts out there that are just designed to make people profit. They're not designed to improve the health of anyone. They're not designed to make society better as a whole or healthier as a whole. They're just designed for people to profit. And that's pretty much what the Western world is. So what's better, communism or this? And I think they both kind of stink. But there's so much out there that we don't know. And these people, And this guy was clearly not in any relation to this technology, these master technologies of these architects that I'm showing in these videos. But as time went on, how many times did the place get reset? How many times did Shaimat's ancestors go from living in a beautiful place like this to living in a mess and being a nomad, being a wanderer, or like go from knowing about these things? Like, how far back did these go? How is it possible? And how many generations ago were these buildings built? These ones that go immensely underground, these ones that make you think that below your feet everywhere is civilization, is an ancient civilization that nobody talks about, no one discusses. There's no pictures, there's no books of who constructed, who architected, who created these plans, how they did it. Nothing exists anymore. We've just been reset so many times. And these Tartarians were reset by the CIA, by communism. All of them were part of the same team to reset Tartar and do everything they could to find the last remaining third world people, underdeveloped people, and bring them into this new modern light. Tell them the history. Tell them the truth. Tell them that this world is political and the magic that they may have seen this world at is not accurate. Tell them again that the world is yay big and show them a map of it. Meanwhile, they had previously thought it was incredibly small, but it's actually way bigger than what they tell us. So there's so many lies everywhere about everything. In our modern education now, you have to basically reverse engineer anytime someone says smart or this is good for you. You have to reverse engineer it and find out what's actually true, because everyone's lying. Everyone wants to make money. And this world needs to change. It needs to have good intent.
Well, we're not lying, and we're not trying to make money.
Yeah, well, if we are, we're doing a poor job.
Wow. This guy could speak 9 languages. The thing is if we had confidence in ourselves and realized, that, I could never, I'm embarrassed to say, comprehende wrong in Spanish. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to pretend I know what comprehend means. If I say comprehende wrong, other people, I've gone into a place I used to live, and I'd use their convenience store a lot when, and I'd go in and go, like, every now and then I'd say, hola. And they go, like, we speak English around here. It's like, wow. Okay. Wow. I get it. So let's look at,
so they didn't want to hear that sort of greeting, apparently.
Nope. They didn't, that was, and I remember there was a time, make them English only, I was, who knows what we get into. So here we have this thing about let us make man in our image, so, this has always bugged me because, before it was God did this, God did that. And then all of a sudden, the same, Elohim that's, being used, all of a sudden they got to go like, let us do it, plural form, and it's just made to cause confusion, Randy.
I believe it.
So I'm going to show you how. So we'll just look up, like, say, let us make, let us make this atom. And of course, we've gone over this, many times, the discrepancies with atom and how, there's, they say it's 316 uses for this atom, but the same word atom has another 22. And then there's this atom, Ba-Adam, that has 18, B-Adam 3, Ha-Adam 136. And definitely Ha-Adam is important because, that is the man in 127. But I also notice it's not the man in Genesis 1:26. So there's all kinds of weird things, but today we're looking at let us make, let us make man. It has spoken and we will do it. Okay, so they're kind of making it seem like it's plural. We will do, and we will be obedient. I got to close these out or they're going to be confusing me. And so let's see. One of the ones I looked up is from Judges. And I'm just like, Lord, which one of these should I look up? And so I looked up 21 verse 7. What shall we do for our wives? How shall we do for our wives? So I looked it up. And I was scrolling down here looking for that word. And look, what shall we do for those? But I don't like it, Randy, when there's a whole word here and they don't link it to their number, because they said that we don't need to write a new Bible. 40 years ago when I was in Bible college and studying the Bible all the time, we can trust Strong's exhaustive concordance. Well, okay, so if I want to see what that word is, I click it, and of course it's like, yeah, go ahead and search for a word. We can tell you want to look up something in Hebrew. Well, yeah, I want to look up something. I just clicked on something. So that didn't work. So, of course, I had to highlight it, type it in, and search it. And it took me right back to Bible Hub. And here it's saying Lahim has 159 occurrences. And here it's saying it has one occurrence. Well, what is it? I don't want him like Strong's word 1992. I want Lahim. And they've got it. They just didn't show it to me here. It's got no number. What is it going to say if I look it up like this? Well, there's Lahim, but still no number. So I guess I clicked on one of these. Here's Lahim. It's number 1992. Wait a minute. They said that had only a one usage thing. And you've heard me say before, Randy, there's a word that's got a real strong root word. You've heard me say that. I know you have. But here's one that, not the best of a root word, not the worst, but it's still at 822 occurrences. What is going on, man? I thought, this is
from a single usage to 150 to over 800.
Well, because it said here's Lahim, 159 usages, and it means like. Every time you see the word that they didn't show me before, Lahim, it says 189 occurrences. But remember when I was doing the whole thing, like, I don't want to look up him 1992. So I want to look different. Up. Yeah, so I'm there like, I want to look up Lahim. Well, it brought me right back to this page, and it's showing me that Lahim means like. Or from. And notice that they don't, here they're too embarrassed to put what the New American Standard and the KJV said. Because, it's not like every other time. Here, they translated it, that will be in office in those days. Here they did it from. It's the same word. Here it's the same word, but it's like. Them. Like. A lot of times it's just like. And maybe, you know, we have time now. You know, we can look up these Bible verses. We can go, let's pick a real Bible and see what Deuteronomy 19:17 says. Both parties to the dispute must stand in the presence of the Lord before the priests and judges who are in office at this time. Well, do it then. Go stand before him, but you're not going to, you know, when even if there's two people and they stand before him, it's still only going to be one God. What's this? That's like. Now, is this a strong root word? Look at this one here. This is all one word. Strong root word or not? This is the worst root word I've ever seen. And it's from another. What's that Bible verse? It's got lahim in it too. They leave out now and drinking for. See, here's a left out word. 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 And Brother Randy, I'm trying to inspire confidence in this book. I want people to know that the word of God that's written on their heart only matches up with one thing, and it's this God-breathed book. God is showing us that, you know, some people, which is the part of the last, you know, how did I end it? Well, anyway, I've touched on it before. They are not afraid to go in the face of the warning, you know, beware of anybody who changes the scriptures. Somebody did. And they guided it towards this whole Trinitarian worship thing. And I understand.
Yeah, there's probably a legitimate reason why they weren't very thorough. You know, unless their argument is it's a work in progress and it's not done yet. But I don't believe either one of them are the case.
So we know that during the Battle of Armageddon and before that, in the time of Jesus for that generation, they're the ones that had to also live through a deception that was so great that, if possible, it could have deceived even the very elect. And we do know that they weren't deceived because the Bible explains that there were people that were caught up in the air and were crying out under the throne sometime, how long until we're avenged, you know? They're crying that. The Bible teaches there's angels in heaven desirously looking in to see and going like, man, how is this going to work out?
I wonder if most of them were Bereans.
A lot of them were, but the angels that are waiting and apprehensive, it's strange as it seems, is that humans will judge them. Somehow.
Yeah, the naughty ones.
At least the naughty ones. But this, you know, tying in, you know, let's pull it up so that people have something to look at, refresh your memory, refresh my memory of not 2 John. 1 John chapter 3, verse 8. Because I've only been focusing on this verse for about a week, because everybody understands that whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil. We're hearing about the devil here. For the devil has been sinning from the beginning. So we get that, sinning from the beginning. But the second half of the verse by the Holy Spirit has been on my heart and mind for this last week as a point of emphasis I want to make, that the reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil, who had been sinning from the beginning. But apparently, there was a time in the Bible before this happened that, now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast. And you know what happened here? He deceived Eve. But, he hadn't been like, he didn't have to eat dust yet.
Well, either, I guess I would speculating that Lucifer, that, Satan must have taken, either got into a serpent, because unless he's able to take on the form of the serpent, at his will, however that worked, and either way, it doesn't matter, the fall of man came through that. It'd just be another detail that really isn't explained on how Satan, possessed the serpent, or was the serpent.
So we have this crafty beast.
Because, he was the most beautiful angel, at one time prior to that. That's why he was so proud and couldn't humble himself before God, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but something happened.
Yeah, something happened.
However, the spirit, you think is spirit, but they have some sort of bodily form, at least when they come in earth. They must.
Yeah, we have this portion in Isaiah 14. This is what everybody always goes to. It's what I've gone to for these 4 decades now. Isaiah 14, verse 12. How you have fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn. How you are cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God. Okay, because there's the problem.
Yeah, it's an issue, yeah.
So he did that. And, the thing is he did it in his heart. But we know we got some people to go with him. Let's keep reading. I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God. I will set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like El Elyon, I do believe. So let's see, who's he wants to emulate. This is our God. El Elyon, this is a prefix. El Elyon is the spirit of God in John 4:24. God is a spirit. So in verse 4, Genesis 14:18 is the first time he's mentioned by that title. Now he was a priest of God Most High. And I wonder who they're talking about there. This might
Probably not Melchizedek.
We're going to go back to verse 12. They also took Lot, the son of Abram's brother, who was dwelling in Sodom, and his possessions, and went their way. Then one who escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and of Aner. These were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his kinsman had been taken captive, he led forth his trained men, born in his house, 318 of them, and went in pursuit of Dan. And he divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them and pursued them to Hobah, north of Damascus. Then he brought back all the possessions. So we get in this whole thing here, and he brought back kinsmen. So now who the king, the Most High, even go, he was a priest of the Most High God, Elyon. It was Melchizedek of Salem. This is who the Spirit, the Spirit God, that Jesus, not so much in my world, Randy, serves as, he does serve, but is, there is the Spirit God, and whether or not he's disciplining the angels for something that happened only in a spirit world, whenever the priest of the Most High God, it's going to be Jesus Christ. And that is whenever it's anything to do with what is our physical realm, that is El Elyon, saying this physical part is now Jehovah, Yahweh, Elohim, the God that is of El Elyon, one with El Elyon, is, and maybe someday we could track the different usages of that aspect of Abba Father, the Spirit's, motivation for using those terms of his theophany is the word, incarnation, a pre-incarnation form of our physical God, because we have all of the information that we need, that at one point this Son of God was found in a body of flesh. Well, who is he? Colossians 1:15 is who he is. He's the image of the invisible God. He's the creator of the universe. Nothing was made that wasn't made by him for him. That's a pretty strong connection and an apologetic argument that deserves a fair and honest debate, Randy. Not somebody to just yell at me and want to hang me or something.
Yeah, as far as for now, because, until he reveals that name that only he knows, which will happen, but not
Let's
in
look
this.
up this one here. Let's start with this. Doesn't serpent mean whisperer? Let's look that up. Where's that whispering whisperer?
Yeah, there might be some logic behind that. Probably more than just an
subtle
assumption.
one. We know subtlety is in on this. Where's that serpent at? Oh, look at that's kind of a weird name. Wehanabhas. This is same serpent. I wish it had its own definition. Has seems to be the strongest of its root similarities, as all of the words have an HAS, and it's only broken up this one time. The definition of it is going to run along the lines of as biting, in spite of charm.
As in, yeah, with venom or something.
Here's a simile of hissing. Hissing is like a kind of whispering. Hiss. Did you ever see that movie with the Harry Potter? They got those guys hissing in that thing all the time.
Yeah, I've never watched it. But...
Here's this bronze image of a serpent. That's a weird one, isn't it?
On the pole?
Yeah.
No, they destroyed it. I think Hezekiah might or someone and
Yeah, because they were worshiping it.
took care of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Hezekiah.
they had it in their possession for some time. It probably wasn't stored in the Ark of the Covenant with, the other rod that blossomed of Aaron's and
Nope, just the manna and the
Yeah.
rod and the commandments.
right. Yeah, it's probably too long. It wouldn't fit in there. So they leaned it in the corner.
See, they got that one word.
Well, you're not sharing. I don't know what, but
I know I'm not. I guess I know that now that you said that. But in the meantime, I've just been learning on my own, man. I was studying.
Okay.
I was getting into the Bible, man. Hey,
I
look what
trust you.
Northam's got here. Well, if you're Rob Skiba and Zin Garcia, Eve was a two-time in the bushes beguiled, which means that she had sex with the serpent, then with Adam, which is the Freemasonic Cain sons, blue blood lizard people, made us instead of a fearfully and wonderfully made by God. Right. Which is hard because the angels in the heaven, don't have sex. It's not like one time when they say that, they said, oh, no, it's not. You don't have to worry about who's going to be your husband in heaven. It's not like that. They're like, you're going to be like the angels in heaven where you don't worry about sex. You're not made for that there. Thank you for that. That's the kind of like stream of consciousness thought that just priceless.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah. So he said in his heart, I will ascend to heaven. I'll set my throne on high. I will sit in the mount of the assembly. I almost want to look up Job a little bit, maybe, and just, show you, what he wanted to be in charge of this, I guess, because one of these times, one of the days the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. Here we go. And Satan also came with them. Everybody, let's face it. If the Bible was easy, we'd just have our kids make cartoons about it. And so on one of the days when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, Satan shows up. He goes, where have you come from? The Lord said to Satan. Isn't it funny?
And then Satan's testimony right there is,
Satan said, in my world, Satan said to
he wasn't going around the world.
The physical incarnation of El Elyon, what are you doing here? I should have showed a little bit
He
more.
wasn't spinning around the world. He went through it and then zigzagging, back and forth.
I didn't show the Elyon. Elyon is number 5945. It's used. It's the Most High, the Upper. It's the God,
Yeah, well, I want it to be.
The Most High God. And it is in the uppermost basket. During a vision, I believe that this is Joseph describing a vision, but since I'm not sure, let's find out. Genesis 40, verse 17. Oh, it's Joseph describing a dream. And now the chief baker, he's getting deceived here because the other guy, the butler, just got a favorable. It's like, hey, yeah, it's gonna be good for you, man. The chief baker says, hey, what about me? I also had a dream, and there were these 3 cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost. That's one of those versions of this. There is a one uppermost, the creator God, the one, that Jesus is. This is who Jesus is. And then for some reason, in eternity past, God was going to do some creating that involved physical stuff. So, and he was going to enter that world, and he did so as Yahweh, Jehovah, Elohim. And then who's these other gods, sons of man? Okay, well, I get it. Ezekiel was called one of those. But I don't want to tie it into, oh my goodness, Randy, we can't go to Psalm 82.
That's off limits? Psalm 82 is off limits. Okay, power of suggestion, huh?
Go get it. We're going to see what the great Dr. William Beck said in really one of the most trustworthy translations, an American translation by Dr. William Beck.
So which verse in 82?
Well, eventually we're gonna end up.
Oh, it must be
we're gonna end up with that "you're all gods" thing, Randy.
Yeah, that's verse 6. It was I who said,
Spoiler
you
alert.
are gods.
Spoiler alert.
All of you are sons of the Most High.
Wow.
Verse 6.
So anything created or physical, but no beast of the field. Blessed is the man, it says in, I'm not on verse 8. I just thought all I had to do was just click on Psalms and I'd be right there at Psalm 82. Started reading, I go like, this is not Psalm 82. God presides in the divine assembly. We just looked and heard about one of those in Job. Jesus is in charge of it there. That's what it seems to say was Yahweh. God presides in the divine assembly. I'm just, offering my evidence towards proof. He renders judgment among the gods. Here we go. Okay, wow. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Well, I wonder who he was talking to. Defend the cause of the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the rights of the afflicted and oppressed. Rescue the weak and needy. Save them from the hand of the wicked. They do not know or understand. They wander in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I have said you are gods. you are all sons of El Elyon. But like mortals, you will die, and like rulers, you will fall. O God, judge the earth, for all the nations are your inheritance. All right. You got any comments while I pull up Isaiah? Because I want the people to remember that all the nations is Israel's inheritance.
Well, yeah, as far as Beck words it, because all the nations belong to you.
Well, I know that
it's a little different flavor, where inheritance, it's.
Well, hold on to that thought for just a second here.
That implies a little. I mean, it's a possession, but
will you flip back, or no? Yeah, flip forward to Isaiah 19, and tell me what he uses, what Dr. Beck uses in verse 25. Because I've got inheritance again in Isaiah 19, verse 25. The Lord of hosts will bless them, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, Assyria, my handiwork, and Israel, my inheritance. Because I need help. Where are we going with this?
He calls it my possession.
I'm going to lean towards possession.
Yeah, in Isaiah 19, verse 25, my possession, and where we were just at Psalms 82, the nations belong to you, rather than inheritance. But
now I pulled up on the screen. I hope I'm sharing.
Yep, you are.
Where people can see that if you want to go, I know people don't like the word jot and tittle, but, use whatever you want, diphthong and punctuation marks. And this word is used 3 times like that. And it's talking about Israel, my inheritance, my land and my inheritance. This is all Shiloh stuff. My people and my inheritance, Israel. So these words, as you can see, these are all pretty darn close, punctuation and everything. But, we looked at some strong root words. There's some good, some bad. And now this one is based on what we see here, Winahalate. Well, that's a long way from where it starts with banana holla at ya, boy. You see, I was rapping. So this is not a good root word, but it's not the worst. But 223 occurrences. So the other 220 are all mixed up, with, there's one with 15, here's one with 34, but a lot of variance. What is an inheritance in the long run? It is possession 7 times, heritage, portion, and these are definitions from the New American Standard. A pretty benign mixture. So we have Satan doing all this in his heart, setting himself above the stars of God. So above the stars of God is where the throne is, because that's where he wanted to set his throne on high. Sit in the mount of the assembly, will ascend above the heights of the clouds. That just doesn't seem, that's super high. I wouldn't want to fall from there, but it's sure not what NASA's trying to sell. I will make myself like, again, El Elyon. This God, this Most High God. Total, the Spirit God, you know, the total highest, the highest gate, the highest God of gods, the unknown, unknowable God, who only is known in part because he has revealed himself in part. Because if we ever thought we could know everything about him, our little minds would be blown. We can't even see him in his true light until he puts a filter of death on us. Whew, I'm trying to be dramatic.
Well, it's a reality.
So this Satan thing, falling, getting to be a serpent. Far from a serpent so far, I would say, though, Randy. I'm kind of looking for serpent-esque qualities because this is Satan is accused of deceiving Eve, and this beast,
the whisperer,
as a beast, not this. I mean, at one point he thought, like I should be. He the description of the way he was made. Didn't you have all of these gemstone-like qualities?
Well, he's quite cunning.
Yeah. Your prompt is brought down to Sheol. So what do we really know about the fall of Satan and everything?
Other than it happened, yeah.
Was the whole earth at rest and quiet? They break forth into seeking. The cypress rejoice at you. Was there a time when? But this was also a taunt against the king of Babylon. I hope I know what chapter this is. I wish I had a better grasp on these things here. I think maybe give us 2 Kings a try. 21. Nope, I don't. I didn't find what I was looking for.
2 Kings. That's where he has my favorite righteous anger. Isn't it 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 24? Isn't that the righteous anger one?
Moreover, Josiah put away the mediums and the necromancers and the household gods and the idols and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah.
No, I'm wrong then.
That's still that was good for people to hear.
Oh, yeah, but that's not.
Where is the against?
Were you reading 2 Kings?
No, I was reading, from Isaiah 14 about Satan, but there's a better description of what I think it is, King Hiram of Tyre. And what I don't know where is that
he was for hire?
Yeah, but I forget what they call it. Was it a lament of Tyre? Lament of King Tyre?
Oh.
Ezekiel 28. I wasn't even close, man. Ezekiel
chapter 28?
Yeah. So that's in the Old Testament.
Yeah, verse 14.
What's it say?
Beck says you were an anointed guardian angel.
This is what I was looking for, and want to thank the people for sticking with it, man, because now we're on it. Now, and again, you know, it's the Son of Man. The word of the Lord came to me saying, Son of Man. You know, when we just read Psalm 82, so everybody's cool with that. Tell the ruler of Tyre. Well, does he mean principality and powers? Or does he mean King Hiram? Well, who was the anointed cherub? That this is what the Lord God says. Your heart is proud. And you have said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of gods in the heart of the sea. Yet you are a man and not a God, though you have regarded your heart as that of a God. Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. Wow. No secret is hidden from you. By your wisdom and understanding, you have gained your wealth and amassed gold and silver for your treasuries. Now that sounds more like the King Hiram than a spiritual thing here, but we're going to keep going. By your great skill in trading, you have increased your wealth, but your heart has grown proud because of it. Therefore, this is what the Lord God says, because you regard your heart as the heart of a god. Behold, I will bring foreigners against you, the most ruthless of nations. They will draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom and will defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die a violent death in the heart of the seas. Verse 9. Will you still say, I am a God, in the presence of those who slay you? You will be only a man, not a God, in the hands of those who wound you. You will die the death of the uncircumcised at the hand of foreigners, for I have spoken, declares the Lord God. Again, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lament for the king of Tyre and tell him that this is what the Lord God says. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every kind of precious stone adorned you, ruby, topaz, and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald. Your mountings and settings were crafted in gold, prepared, and here we go, on the day of your creation, unlike El Elyon or anything else that could possibly ever be imagined. Everything came from the topmost one and only God, the creator. And he had made this, someone was created as the seal of perfection. Wisdom, beauty, Eden, precious stones, crafted in gold mountings, on the day that he was created. Verse 14, you were anointed as a guardian cherub, for I had ordained you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked among the fiery stones. From the day you were created, you were blameless in your ways until wickedness was found in you. By the vastness of your trade, you were filled with violence and you sinned. So I drove you in disgrace from the mountain of God. No more meetings, no more Satan tagging along up there. That just didn't happen. That not after verse 16. Verse 17, your heart grew proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I cast you to earth. I made you a spectacle before the kings. Multiple blah, blah, blah. You've come to a horrible end. Randy, let's look, let me get my little piper so I don't have to do it with, let's see. I saw Satan cast to earth. So a lot of the there was some sin and then there was some judgment. When did Jesus see Satan cast to earth? In Luke 10:18, Jesus replied, I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning. So he told them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. When was this? Luke chapter 10, verses 10 through 18. But whenever you enter a town and they do not receive you, go into its streets and say, even the dust of your town that clings to your feet, we wipe off against you. Nevertheless, know this, that the kingdom of God has come near you. I tell you, it will be more bearable on that day for Sodom than for that town. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Tyre or Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more bearable in the judgment for Tyre and Sidon than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be exalted to heaven? You shall be brought down to Hades. The one who hears you hears me, and the one who rejects you rejects me, and the one who rejects me rejects him who sent me. The 72 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. Hold on to your hats. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall hurt you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. This is when, so
predestination.
All of this everything is just recent too. You'd think that this Satan and this falling cast from heaven, this turning is all recently, but Ezekiel saw this happen, and then Jesus said, yeah, it's happening now. Wow. Now, what's this? We wrestle not against flesh and blood. I'd like to talk to her about this, because now it says Yahshua, Jesus, is called the angel of the Lord many times in the Old Testament. So she considers him the all in all angel.
Well, it won't exclude.
And I don't even know what this means.
He's the all in everything, so I don't know what you exclude when you're
Right.
the all in everything. But
the way that we describe it, and we wrestle not flesh and blood. I believe that'd be nice of you to go there, as she is a content provider. Give her some help. Subscribe to her. What was I just going to look up? Oh, I was going to read. Well, here's who we consider. Here's who I consider. Who's Jesus? Who's Jesus? We already talked about it. We know who Jesus is. He told us in Colossians. He says, it's just pretty cut and dried. Colossians chapter 1, verse 15, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. So when the Elyon, the spirit God, was going to say, like, I'm going to be dealing in the physical world now, he came into existence. Jesus did, as the spirit, because that's all there was, just Jesus. He's going like, no, we're going to be working in a physical world now. Okay, well, that's, I guess you could call that, God's, it's Yahweh, it's like, yeah. We're going physical for some reason, and we're not going to get into the infralapsarian, superlapsarian argument about did God know Eve would eat of the fruit. We don't even know right now. We know that was bad, but we're not sure when Satan got turned into a serpent and when he fell down to earth and everything. But we do know who Jesus is. He is the image of El Elyon, the invisible God, firstborn of all creation. For by Jesus all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through Jesus and for Jesus, and Jesus is before all things, and in Jesus all things hold together. And Jesus is the head of the body, the church. Jesus is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in everything Jesus might be preeminent. For in Jesus all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. And through Jesus, he reconciled through Jesus, all things, are reconciled in the world, whether on earth or in heaven, because only through Jesus can, we make peace by the blood of Jesus's cross. But we were once alienated and hostile in mind, doing evil deeds. Jesus has now reconciled in Jesus's body of flesh by Jesus's death, in order that we might be presented holy and blameless, because he was talking to a different group of people then. And we learned from them that being faithful is of utmost importance, because all of these people lived the promises and received their promise reward, because God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him, has been, always will be. Continuing in verse 23, if indeed you continue in the faith, stable, steadfast, not shifting from the hope of the gospel that you heard, which has been proclaimed in all creation under heaven. In case for those people who think, that, the Wycliffe Bible translators have almost got the last translation done, then Jesus can come back, because they never preached it. Well, that's what predispensationalists teach, that he never had the gospel preached to everybody in the world. But I'm saying, if you trust the Bible, you have to believe, yes, he did. And I don't want to get too off the point, because we believe that Jesus is the image of the invisible God. That works.
Yeah, it's better to obey than be creative.
Verse 17, for he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. That some verses translate that. And I grew up for years only memorizing the King James, but I always liked that by him all things consist. Because I know, Randy, and I've used this all my life, I know that glass consists of sand, and all it's been done is heated up.
Liquefied. And it's still a liquid.
And then when it cools down, I was in my 30s before I realized, that's how glass holds together. Jesus holds it together. It's a part of everything by him consists,
It would include glass.
Yeah.
Because everything, when it comes to everything, I don't know what you exclude, but
no, you don't. But Randy, I want to wrap it up here at 4:00, and I want to see if maybe we can, I know you're tired, I'm tired. I have been fasting for a while, and why don't we try to schedule, coming back around 8:00, and just see what the Lord has spoken to us in the Spirit, from now until then, in this space-time vortex warp of a couple of guys that we found out recently. We're just a couple of magnetic batteries running in a vortex. So,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
I'll see if I can click on some algorithms, and I don't know.
Yep. In the meantime, I want to invite everybody else to come back with us tonight. We'll be getting more in-depth Bible, maybe even a couple of prayer sessions if we can get some, good prayer requests in the chat. But we're going to take advantage of this time that Randy can help do some mini marathons. So everyone, on behalf of Randy, it's a Flat Earth Nation, you know, we're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? Why would Tommy? Why would anybody? We're all trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho.